As parents, caregivers, and community members, we know today's kids are growing up in a complicated world. From kindness and empathy to online safety, bullying, emotions, and confidence, sometimes the hardest part is knowing simply how to start the conversation. That's where Bright Littles comes in. Created by a mom and developed alongside educational experts, Bright Littles offers award-winning conversation cards, journals, and digital toolkits designed to help families build stronger connections, one conversation at a time. Their mission is simple: raise brighter leaders through meaningful dialogue, empathy, and understanding. Whether it's around the dinner table, during bedtimes, or on the ride home from school, Bright Littles gives parents real tools to help kids navigate challenges with confidence and compassion. Because sometimes 5 minutes of honest conversation can change everything. Learn more at brightlittles.com and start building brighter conversations today. That's brightlittles.com. Welcome to Pulse Check, Wisconsin. One of the things you guys talked about was, correcting the narrative, right? So the goal of correcting the narrative initiative that you guys are working on, how does that contribute to reshaping sort of the public perceptions about incarceration?
You want to take that one, Carl?
So what I would say, and where I would start out there, the Correcting the Narrative campaign for me was so powerful just to start. And I think it's powerful because we talk about it often as being, changing the narrative, and the narrative isn't as important as what's actually happening. And what's actually happening is those bad people need correction. And I saw that and I thought about that. And one of the things that really stood out for me was that, Shannon has this way of describing how, changing the narrative is subjective and correcting the narrative is math, which, I thought, yeah, that's true, because 1 + 1 = 2, no matter where on this globe you stand. And I began to think about how that relates to me, and my particular personal explanation of it is about court and the pretrial experience. When something happens in court, the judge pauses all proceedings and he tells the stenographer to stop and correct the record. And in correcting that record, we're talking about correct, because there's going to be one record at the end of this proceedings, and that record is the narrative. And correcting the record is correcting the narrative so that the narrative serves the purpose that it's supposed to. The narrative that exists for people like myself, for people like Shannon, is not serving the public well. It's not serving the people who went through the system, and it certainly isn't following along the lines of a healthy producing of good results for the bottom line. And so when you talk about doing that kind of work, we're talking about bringing people whose experiences are different from ours, who are different from Milwaukee or Racine or Madison, into this to say that there is one narrative, there is one record, and the one record that exists is not serving you well in Waupaca or in Rhinelander or in Superior. And so for me, correcting the narrative work, we get into the specifics and the tangible pieces of, like you said, the podcast, which are doing very well, the documentary screenings that we hold to bring people in to help them to understand that this is as much their conversation as anybody else's. The fact that we talk to people through panels and we invite people whose experiences are from all over the carceral system spectrum, all over the community spectrum, to come in and talk about what their needs are and how the system as a whole, the $80+ billion budget, we expect for it to serve us all. Is it serving us all? We believe the answer to that is no, and we believe that the data backs up that statement. And to help have that conversation, and unfortunately, we have to switch out some pieces and put in some others, and those pieces are in the form of experiences that are being lifted up and that are being heard. Those experiences in Rhinelander are similar to my own in southeastern Wisconsin. We just haven't gotten on the same page yet, because they want safe and secure streets same as we do. We want for playgrounds to be healthy and vibrant and invested in here in southeast Wisconsin in the same way we do in the northern part of the state. But that conversation has yet to be had. And so for me, the Correcting the Narrative campaign has been that and continues to be that. And so I appreciated, being offered the role and being able to have that very progressive and, cohesive conversation. And then, building that work, I'm honored to do it.
Yeah, and it's needed, brother. Like you said, it's needed to not only help the people who are out, the people who are in locked facilities, but also to help the general public to help with that, reacclimation into society, like you were saying, right? I can't tell you
Yes, sir.
how many times we over here people aren't selected for jobs, right? We've had folks who are trying to do all they can to get back into the workforce, trying to do all they can to reach higher education, once they get out and hit this roadblock, right? And so
Right.
it's not only going to
Right.
adjust for that narrative, but it's going to ease that transition again, like you're saying. So I appreciate all the work that you're doing in that respect. Is there
Right
any
on. Right
specific
on.
like policy changes or anything that the community is advocating for right now in general, just to, help incarcerated populations either reacclimating to society or just living day to day in incarcerated situations?
So I would say one of the things that exists is that the community as an organization is partner. It sits on a committee, and that committee is, as Shannon said, the coalition. The coalition has been built to lift up a couple of different things. One of those things is we believe that a cap on supervision is needed because there are a lot of states who not just have a set amount of time that they keep, a fixed amount of time they keep people on parole, probation, or supervision, but it is also acknowledging the work that has been put into a person getting their freedom and maintaining that freedom. That serves the public interest, that serves the individual, and it's also one of those steps that allows for the system to not struggle in having too many people a part of it. That's one of the things that we fight for. Another is that, we really do try our best to showcase the humanity and the agency of people, and that the current system and the way that it operates not only strips that from a person for the sake of what they believe to be the health and the, good maintenance of the system, but you leave a person without the very tools needed to, as they would say, build back better and come back to society to contribute and produce. And so I appreciate having that opportunity to lift that up in real time with real examples, because there are more than enough examples.
Something I was gonna highlight in there about the work we do advocacy wise is we don't do, like, the community doesn't do direct advocacy. That's never been the thing that we focus on. Through the coalition, our alliance with the coalition, as individuals, also the coalition is made up. We try to set it up so it's made up of people rather than organizations, because that model for us, we feel, is going to be beneficial to have more autonomy for the people, instead of, if you come from so-and-so organization and they might not want you working on a certain issue, like, that's not your decision. You're into the coalition's, like, realm now, right? Like, you don't go to Hunger Task Force and tell them, I only want my people doing cans. Like, no, they're going to do boxes and can we going whatever they want, whatever we need them to do on this weekend. That's what they came.
Right.
And so what we've always had, though, is this different type of advocacy. I think there's a view a lot of times in advocacy that it's only political, right? But I would argue that the more important aspect of advocacy is happening pre-political. It's happening in the communities. It's happening when you talk to your coworkers, your family, when you're talking to your friends, and you're talking to people at the gym. Like, are you challenging folks when they say things in a way that creates dialogue? Or are you just shutting down or reacting in an angry way that, makes enemies? And so trying to find ways to expose more folks to this issue through empowering stories, through opening up these conversations rather than getting mad, that is as much advocacy, if not more, than talking to your legislator, because they're going to naturally do things differently. They're going to actually talk to their legislators on their own. They're going to naturally vote based on these conversations you're having in communities at a grassroots level, rather than just go have so-and-so vote on this bill when he's never talked to you until you needed him for this bill, right? So that's kind of the way we exist and help, hopefully, as a value add to the advocacy conversation around this issue.
Yeah, and like you said, a lot of times that's even more fruitful than going the traditional avenues of doing that advocacy, right? Because there's so many steps, especially when you're going through the legislative process, to get it on the floor, right? To get a bill on the floor to become a law at that point in time. So you guys are doing exactly the right way and hitting that path, just to kind of, make sure that you're hitting folks in the community so that their actions are changing, right? And so that later will be downstream effect too. One of the things that you guys talked about was partnerships. What partnerships have been most effective in advancing these initiatives, and how do you envision sort of expanding these collaborations in the future?
We've always been, as an organization, very intent on working together with other organizations. I think what I've learned since I came home, I don't think I know, since I came home, I had this Pollyannish view of collaboration where, I'm just going to go meet people and we're going to like make sure so and so knows about the other organization and they're just going to all work together as well. And it doesn't happen like that, right? I mean, if you've met human beings, you know how we can find a way to pull defeat from the mouth of victory over and over again. And so what I discovered over and over again is that we need to be more intentional. Okay.
That's okay,
That's
bro.
adorable.
No worries.
Right. That is adorable.
Because the dad duties don't stop, man. I hear you, brother. All right.
So let me finish this, okay, Kat? And so what we try to really do then is lean into a coalition of the willing, right? Organizations that really want to work together. We try to find them and we try to build out like ways that we can work together. And so what we are doing currently is we have a variety of organizations locally and nationally that really get it. They really want to work together, and it's based on like trust. It's not based on a project or based on funding. It's based on like you all view things the way we do. The values are there, and we're trying to like lean into those relationships a lot more. But I think something that always is I think a interesting story as a response to this is when Carl first started, there were some partnerships we had, I think specifically with higher education. And he was like, correct me if I'm wrong in the way it was set up, Carlos. I'm paraphrasing it, but I think you asked, how did this partnership happen, right? Because we had a really deep partnership with UWM, and we're working with them even now on a bunch of stuff. We have a whole week of events we're doing in the fall, and even more. We're putting together a grant right now, hopefully submitted tomorrow, the Chancellor's Pledge Grant, which is with MCW, Marquette, and UWM. And we have a good relationship at each of those facilities, each of those organizations. I have found going to these learning institutions, there to be so much will and desire and passion for this issue and to work with us that we've just been leaning into that a lot more lately to see, how much we can be of value to what they're trying to do and how much they can be of value to us in terms of resources and just legitimacy a lot of times. As a community-based organization, it can be hard to kind of get that view that you know what you're doing or that, you can be trusted or that you are, a partner to be on these larger stages. But if you have Marquette, MCW, UWM name on something, like the door opens right away. Like, oh, okay, yeah, come on in. We ain't know that they was with you. Yeah,
Yep.
so it's like I'm trying to really make sure we lean into that, and we have to do our part. We can't just like say, give us your name and then that'll get doors open. Like we have to be valuable for their students and for their faculty, and like commit and deliver on the projects that we start. So yeah, that's been an area that we've really been into lately and hope to continue with.
So one of the things, we'll go ahead and close out here, guys, but how can our listeners, how can community members, some of my fellow healthcare professionals, how can we all support the community's mission and some of your programs and going forward?
The interesting right away response that I try to like fight, but I have to at least say, or else a poor nonprofit leader is money. That's always helpful. Right. So get that out the way. Everybody knows that. I feel like you just have to at least make the cliche comment. But beyond that, we really are trying to just have as much access to communities that oftentimes do not understand this issue or don't hear it. Right. And you find that all over the place. That's not even just racial demographics, right? Like you would think, oh, you mean like white people that are rich? Yeah. Yes, for sure. But there are also groups that are BIPOC that are higher economic levels that also don't necessarily know about this as much. And so like I think if anything, it's a class focus that we're looking for and an education focus more than it is a race focus, and especially not a gender focus. And so if there's more ways we can get into, MCW has a whole lot of people that are going to be going out into the field, and they're going to become the next country club people, and they're going to be the next folks that are, wine and dining at these really expensive restaurants and shopping.
Some of them are already.
Yeah.
That was my experience going to school there.
Have access right now to these groups, these companies, these organizations, these populations that we need to talk to. We need to like get them to come to our events and check stuff out. We have a dinner on June 12th in Shorewood at Love Cafe. It's a really creative way we try to use prison themed food. I have to emphasize prison themed. This is not prison food. It's food created by a professional chef that is based off the creativity of meals inside, and that we use each course to talk about a different issue around the criminal legal system with storytellers. And so we had that June 12th. And so we just have these different things we're doing. We'd love to have people come and check out different ways to find out about this issue and this topic and this population more, and go to more places with people that can be those access points. So like, for me, that's always the most important thing, if we can get that.
Yeah.
And I would like to hit you pretty straightforward, Chris, with a couple things because I make a connection and a comparison often about health in the urban area versus rural area. Um, I equate that lately to Wi-Fi. People understand that Wi-Fi is a given in the cities. A lot of people don't understand that people struggle in rural areas with Wi-Fi. And the great equalizer and the thing that brings those two together is access. In the same way we talk about safety and health, city that urban versus rural. Again, we're talking about access. I've had a different conversation about what community safety is and the community investment in safety is, and it was a different conversation in a urban area with folks from the city versus a rural area from folks who grew up in that type of environment, whether it was suburban or just rural outside. And I'm like, look, we're still talking about. I was like, but the word that binds those two together is wellness. If we change the phrase public safety to public wellness, we'd have a completely different set of goals. We'd have a completely different set of investment points, and we'd have a way to bring urban and rural together to where we'd always and continue to have the same conversation. I'm looking to build that bridge because I believe that's how we get it done.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. More power to you all. Please let me know any way I can help out, in any of my networks as well. How can folks reach out to you? How can folks get more information about the community, come to these events, things of that nature? What's the best way?
Well, the website, forgot we had the dash in there, the-community.org. And we're on social media, pretty easy to find out, I hope. LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. So we kind of keep things updated there. But anyone can, sign up for our newsletter. That'd be great. That's the way we keep everybody up to date. It kind of comes delivered directly to their email every week with new things we're doing. So those would be the best ways to kind of keep up and check out what we're doing.
Oh, guys. Well, Shannon, Carl, I appreciate you guys coming out, man. I'm looking forward to talking more, keeping the conversation going. Again, feel free to reach out anyway. If I can help out, I'll be sure to pass this along to my colleagues as well. But thank you for all that you all are doing, and best of luck in all the things that the community is doing, all the good things you're doing in the community.
Thank you so much for the time to come talk and
same to you, my
meet
man.
your listeners.
Absolutely, guys. As always, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and if you need me, come and see me.